Have you ever gone back to the Brain Scorcher after turning it off? If you have, you've probably noticed that there's a ton of monolith, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because you just turned it off and they're obviously not going to turn it right back on. Or if you've ever played Freedom and decided to raid the duty base, how come after killing everyone there, including the general, they just decide to respawn? One of the biggest disconnects with Gamma is how the world feels so alive thanks to A-Life, but all the locations kind of feel static, right? Like, as I mentioned, you kill all the monolith in the Brain Scorcher, they respawn. You kill all the duty in Rostok, they respawn. Everyone respawns. There's no such thing as completely wiping out a base, but that's where Redone comes in. Redone is one of my favorite mods, and let's get into why. Alright, now at the end of this video, I will have an install tutorial for the Redone collection of mods alongside any optional mods that I mentioned during this, but before we get into this, let's talk about what Redone is and how it changes the game. Now, the Redone collection is split into two different volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2 being the southern zones and the northern zones, and it changes each one of them. However, the northern changes still aren't that major yet. One example is Redone now adds military right here at the bridge, and they're not shooting me as I slowly approach them, and the reason why is in Anomaly, originally, S.T.A.L.K.E.R was supposed to have a deal with the military that they would not shoot loners on sight. Now, that never fully got implemented, and so it is an optional mod that Redone recommends that you add. Now, obviously, if I get too close to them, they will open fire just like this, but if I kill them, you'll notice right in the bottom left, I lost goodwill for dishonoring S.T.A.L.K.E.'s deal with the military. So you have to watch out. Another example is up here at the northern checkpoint. There's actually military here for once, like there should be. However, if I were to kill all the military here, this area would be re-inhabited by someone else. As I mentioned earlier, one of my biggest gripes is that all the locations feel static while the open world itself feels dynamic. So earlier I mentioned how if you kill everyone in Rostok, duty will just respawn. Well, in Redone, obviously it's different. So let's say duty have a little bit of a tragic accident, you know, something just happens that just so happens to kill all of them. Hi, Petranko. Excuse me? Excuse me? He is definitely supposed to be able to, okay, apparently grenades do nothing but knives kill him. I have a Ronin, and apparently since grenade launchers don't work, I'm just going to do that. All right, now the duty leadership has been completely crippled. Now, how about we get out of here and wait a little while and see what happens? All right, and as you can see, we are back a couple of days later, and now Freedom have actually taken over Rostok. This is what I like about Redone. So going back to the Brain Scorcher example earlier, let's go see what happens if I were to do the Brain Scorcher. Quick ADHD interruption real quick. Here in Wild Territory, you're going to notice that there's a lot of mercenaries. Now, one great thing, too, is if you eliminate all the mercenaries in Wild Territory, this will now become a duty area. Now, obviously, if you kill Petranko and Veronin, this won't be a duty area, but that's the magic of Redone. I always did find it quite annoying doing all those missions for duty, killing a ton of mercenaries here in Wild Territory and having them just repopulate. Now, obviously, in order to do the Brain Scorcher, I must do the Miracle Machine, and you're going to notice right away that the Miracle Machine is different, and the way that you disable it is different. Now, you will have the normal spawns, like, for example, the Snork that always spawns behind you. One of the main changes is that there's more zombified stalkers throughout the entire thing, so as you can see, there's a lot more guys here. The amount of zombified stalkers down here does make it to where you will need to prepare a lot more for the Miracle Machine. As you can see right here, this guy's in an exo. And right here where there's normally bloodsuckers, as you can see, it's actually, once again, more zombified stalkers and snorks that are hiding around the corner trying to get you with their psi. Now, here's the main room of the Miracle Machine. Now, you're going to notice something is immediately different once you run over to this first switch and turn it off. First of all, once you flick it down, you can actually flick it back up. That's right, you can turn back on both the Miracle Machine and the Brain Scorcher, though that's really meant for Monolith playthroughs and Sin playthroughs. And once again, there is a ton of zombified stalkers here. As you can see, this mod makes Miracle Machine a lot tougher, especially if you're doing a Monolith/Sin playthrough. This place is insane. But you're going to notice, the warning noise isn't playing. I wonder if it just removed the file. Nope, that's because this is completely different. If you play a Sin or Monolith, there will be like Freedom and Ecologists here and Mercenaries. It's very, very tough. But here is the third switch. Turn that off, and once again, it's not making any noise. Now, once you get here to the top, finally, you turn off this switch, and you're going to notice, wait, it's not complete. Wait, why did it disable? All right, so I'm actually really confused right now because normally what happens is you turn this off and the Miracle Machine isn't actually disabled. And what you have to do is you have to run all the way back down to the bottom switch, turn that off again, and then run all the way up and do it again, and then flick the switch and it'll be turned off. That's how it was the last time I did this. And yet now the Miracle Machine is just disabled. Because the challenge was you were supposed to run all the way down there and zombies would start spawning in. So you'd have to kill zombified stalkers. But, okay then, never mind. Either way, let's go ahead and kill this controller and get out so that we can start making our way towards the Brain Scorcher. All right, so we turned off the Miracle Machine and we're in the tunnels, and immediately, that's weird. There's a mercenary laying here, and there's no snorks. I wonder what might be around this corner since there's no snorks. I don't know. What could possibly be here? Yep, that's right. There are now bloodsuckers in the tunnels. But on the bright side, you don't have to deal with a ton of snorks. Now, right around this corner, there should be two. Let's see if I can see them before they, disappear. Oh, it's a Psysucker too. There's a Psysucker. But did I kill the bloodsucker? Oh, I did. Hey, let's go. So yeah, there's a total of 3 down here. Now, the whole pseudo giant thing is the exact same. So yeah, just do this or run away. It's your choice. And there we go. We are now out of the Miracle Machine. So time to actually head up to the Brain Scorcher. All right, and now we're in Army Warehouse, which has 2 major changes. One of which being that Bloodsucker Village actually has bloodsuckers for once. Now, obviously, once you kill all of them, they won't respawn immediately, but they will respawn at about 2 weeks in-game, and I think eventually it becomes a shorter interval. But the more important change is here at the Freedom Base. If you were to kill Lukash, then eventually the Monolith will actually launch an invasion on Army Warehouse, and if they kill a majority of the Freedom members here, they will actually own this base, and a bunch of Monolith and Sin will start spawning here and taking it over. All right, so now we're in Radar, where you 100% want to avoid the forest at all costs, because there is guaranteed to basically be pseudo-giants or chimeras there. Now, besides the fact that there's Monolith all the way down the road up to the Brain Scorcher, you're also going to have to deal with mutants the entire time, including zombified stalkers like that one right there. Now, if you're used to going through Radar in the current Gamma version, this version will be much harder due to the amount of Monolith everywhere and the amount of mutants in the forest. Yup, and even up the road right here where there aren't normally Monolith, there are currently some shooting at me. Now, if only the Redone Collection would get rid of the piss yellow filter that this game has. Dude, there are so many more Monolith out here compared to, like, the Brain Scorcher I just did. I just did Brain Scorcher on my 1 life not that long ago, and this is insane. There is probably about 5 times the amount of Monolith here. Holy crap. On the bright side, hey, this is a ton of scavenging levels right here. Okay, I'm being serious right now. There's probably about 40 guys here. I'm pretty certain. Like, holy crap. All right, well, with all of them dead, hopefully, let's go ahead and do the Brain Scorcher. All right, and here we are inside the Brain Scorcher. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is it's technically easier because there is no timer. That's right, you have unlimited amount of time to go through and doing the Brain Scorcher. Now, if there was one thing I could suggest to Aukman about changing the Brain Scorcher, I would definitely make it harder. Now, Redone is supposed to get a new update relatively soon, and so maybe the Brain Scorcher will be much more difficult, because the way that it is currently, it is a lot easier. Oh yeah, and by the way, this Brain Scorcher is the way that it used to be, where there's no Monolith until you disable it. I think. Or no. Now, I'm pretty sure the way that this works is it is similar to the way that the Brain Scorcher used to be. In other words, once you turn it off, a new Monolith squad should spawn in. But I actually haven't done this in a very, very long time, so I'm going to be figuring it out alongside you guys right now. All I know is that there was not a ton of Monolith in here, period. What in the world was he doing? Just staring at the corner. And here we are at the Brain Scorcher. Turn that off, and as I mentioned before, you can turn it back on if you'd like to. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but yeah, let's keep that off. Now, obviously, as I said, if you're playing as Monolith and Sin, the main quest that you'll be doing is turning back on the Brain Scorcher and the Miracle Machine, both of which is actually pretty dang difficult. For both the Brain Scorcher and Miracle Machine, as Monolith, you're going to have to deal with a ton of mercenaries normally. Okay, well, we just turned it off, and I'm not hearing any new voices, so maybe it doesn't spawn anyone back in, which would make it incredibly easy. Oh, nope. There we go. There's someone. Yep, okay, there are new guys here. Nice. Ooh, it sure does add in a lot more guys, actually, after you disable it. Oh, he was underneath the stairs. Oh, hold on. I'm fine. Okay, now I know I said the Brain Scorcher should be easier in Redone. I actually now think it's harder because I did not know it was gonna respawn like so many more guys at the end. All right, we've killed everyone inside and outside the Brain Scorcher, so let's go ahead and wait a few days and see what happens. Oh, as you can see on the map right here, it's already starting. There's some freedom right here inside of radar where they normally wouldn't be. All right, so here we are 24 hours later, and as you can see, there is a ton of mercenaries here. Since we're an ecologist, we're obviously allied with them. Now, whatever you are allied to will typically take over the miracle machine. So, for example, if you're a loner, it won't be mercenaries. Actually, right there is an ecologist, so let's go ahead and head down into the Brain Scorcher so that I can show you the difference. All right, well, I just got out of the lab, and for some reason, there's no ecologists or mercenaries down here, but I guess it's because I haven't waited enough time, because as you can see, there's apparently some monolith attacking outside, and these ecologists were meant to go down into the lab. So, as you can see, just because we cleared out the area, and now there's mercenaries and ecologists here, it does not mean that the area will not be attacked from time to time. And as you can see on the PDA right now, there's freedom here, freedom there, and freedom all the way down here. So this entire road is now secure after going and doing the Brain Scorcher. Oh, as you can see right here, there's actually a monolith down there, and there's a bunch of freedom attacking him. Might as well help him out real quick. Now, I know that modern-day Gamma requires that you do both the Miracle Machine and the Brain Scorcher to go north, but if you were to disable the Northern Psyfields mod that requires you to do the Brain Scorcher to do north, the way that Redone is supposed to work is that until you disable the Brain Scorcher, the northern zones are hell. So looking at the map of Jupiter, normally you'll have monolith maybe like down here or over here, but no, the way that it works in Redone is if you just disable the Miracle Machine and go north, then this entire area is just filled with monolith. There is so many more monolith patrols, and that does not end until after you disable the Brain Scorcher. And supposedly, I think I've been told that after you do the Eidolon quest and you kill most of the monolith here in Pripyat, it'll also stop the monolith from spawning all in this area too. Now, some more side things I'd like to mention. Right here in this cave that we normally associate with Sin, it's now a monolith base, and so there will be a monolith trader here. Sin have actually had their base moved all the way up here to the deserted hospital, and they'll have a trader there too. Now, if you were to raid the monolith inside here and you kill everyone, including the monolith trader, then Sin will start to inhabit this cave. All right, now we're in Outskirts with a few interesting changes, one of which being that at nighttime, there will actually be a Chimera hive, where if you go there and kill the Chimeras, it'll cease spawning a ton of Chimeras here in Outskirts. So it's actually a really good way of eliminating most Chimera spawns. Now, there are a lot more zombies here in Outskirts now, and in order to disable those, you have to destroy, I'm assuming, this psi antenna. I'm not 100% sure. It just says that there's a psi antenna somewhere in Outskirts that if you disable it, there will no longer be as many zombified stalkers. Now, there are many, many changes that Redone makes. So many that it would take me hours to list every single one. Any place that you can think of on the entire map has probably had something changed about it, and the spawns have changed everywhere. So if you're getting a bit bored of Gamma and you kind of know where all the spawns are and where all the enemies tend to be, this is a perfect mod to try out. For example, what happens if you kill everyone in Yanov? Who will re-inhabit it? I don't know. You go tell me. But now that I've done a very light overview, let's go ahead and get into how to install the Redone collection of mods. All right, now there are three main mods that I recommend you download. There's the Redone collection for the south maps, the one for the north, and the Combat Ignore military fix. This military fix is what makes sure the military do not attack you while you're in Cordon, as long as you don't get close to them. Now, another optional mod you can install is Redone Combat AI. Now, as you can see, added danger behavior to NPC spawns. The values will be changed depending on the weather and nighttime. Added on combat behavior to regular NPCs, all this other stuff. The only negative thing that I've heard about it is that apparently NPCs tend to hide behind corners and camp more often, but it does add some pretty cool stuff. The main reason I would install this is because it does change the NPC's behavior during the daytime, nighttime, and depending on the weather. So technically what you could do during stormy weather is do a nighttime raid, and hopefully the NPCs won't be able to detect you as well. All right, now we're on Mod Organizer 2, and what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to first go over and make a new profile. So I'm going to go here to configure profiles. I'm going to go to Gamma, and I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to name this new one Redone. So there we go. Go ahead and select the Redone profile. Now there are three mods we're going to want to disable first in order for Redone to function properly. First of all is Psyfields in the north. As you can see right there, we're going to disable that. ZCP, go ahead and disable that. ZCP 1.4 balance spawns. And finally, Gamma Vices are free. Those are the only three mods you need to disable. Now you're just going to install Redone like any other mod. You're going to come up here to the top left and click install a new mod from an archive. And let's go ahead and start with the southern map. So go ahead and double click on that. And as you can see, we have a bunch of optional things we can install. install. So first of all, Agroprom Underground have endless amounts of mutant spawns or no endless. I always have no endless. And now there's a bunch of optional stuff. So for example, Cordon Rookie Village, new logic, Cordon Tunnel Anomalies add-on. Dark Valley can have a Bandit Barman, or Darkscape, free Stalker and Trader and Tech, all this other stuff. You can also have repack textures if you'd like. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. I'm not going to choose any of these optional ones. Let's make sure to rename this and call it Redone South. There we go. And next, we're going to install the northern maps. Now, these have a lot more too. If you use the Duty expansion mod, make sure to click on this right here. You can also have Sin and Mutants become neutral, which is something that Grok has been trying to do for a while. Helicopter at Lamonsk or Hospital. Generators have alternative ISG spawns. You can add whole new transition zones to the game. For example, Red Forest to Lamonsk, Jupiter to Lamonsk, or Jupiter Underground to Radar. The only one of these that I actually used was the Jupiter to Lamonsk one. Now on Redone North, you want to scroll all the way to the bottom. As you can see, we have these 4 options. If you're using default gamma settings, what you're going to want to choose is number 11, which is DAO compatibility specifically for gamma. So go ahead and click OK on that one. And now all you're going to do is just keep these at the bottom of the load order, and you're going to enable both of them. Now it's time to install the military, Combat Ignore Military. Go ahead and double click on that. Install. Check mark. That's all you need to do. Doesn't matter where it is. However, there is one issue with this mod, and that is it does not work properly with Useful Idiots. So you cannot use Useful Idiots for now with it. Now, I've heard supposedly in the Discord that older versions of Useful Idiots works, but I just wouldn't mess with it for now. All right, now that we've installed these 3, all you got to do now is to boot up Gamma and start a new game, because it does not work on a current save. Redone changes a lot of things, and so you must do it with a fresh save. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you install Redone and give it a try. Trust me, it is an amazing mod, and I can't wait for the next update that Aukman plans on putting out sometime hopefully soon. By the way, remember to check out my One Life Iron Man series. Anyways, peace.